We're here with Stephen May, who is here as part of the South by Southwest Interactive Festival, right? Tell us a little bit about your project.
The project's Weekend Pictures, weekendpictures.ca, and it's a platform that explores the impact of user-generated content, so whether it's Facebook, Twitter, blogs, YouTube, on privacy.
And why specifically are you here?
The project's been nominated for a Web Award, which is pretty cool, I'd say. I've never been to Texas or been nominated for a Web Award of any sort. So I'm here to support the project and to meet other people creating content.
Well, talk about the specifics of your project and what you're studying.
Sure. The project was produced as part of my my graduate studies at Ryerson University in Toronto, Canada, and it was a Master of Arts in Media Production. I successfully defended it, so I'm all done. And Ryerson's really great because they create media projects usually through their research, and so I had the opportunity to create this. I've made documentaries previously, and I want to do a documentary about user-generated content and privacy, and I want to do it for the web, and so this was the perfect opportunity to do so.
And this is a really fascinating concept, and actually there are a lot of panels this year at South by Southwest talking about specifically this. So what have you found in regards to privacy and what people decide to post?
It was a really transformative experience for me because I went in with a certain sense of what privacy entailed and sort of what my concerns were, and then those I still have those concerns, but sort of was a whole other layer was many layers were revealed to me. I kind of went into the project with almost a paternalistic approach, like, hey kids, watch those Cancun party pictures you're putting on your Facebook.
Right.
Might come back to haunt you in terms of employment opportunities and this kind of thing, and that or security and safety concerns. I mean, those still exist, and so the project does deal with that. But the other layer, and I would say the more important layer, like we were saying earlier about that we're still in a period of hype in terms of
Right.
these really great tools that we enjoy and we use all the time.
That are almost too easy to buy into. It's like it's very easy to post your pictures and.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the buy-in, as they say. It's ease of use, right? We don't print photographs. One example, photographs, to email them is kind of a chore, but you put them on Facebook, it's easy. But to get back to your question, the sort of other layer of privacy that I was sort of brought to my attention was all this content and data that we're putting up there about ourselves, our data digital doubles. Mm-hmm. Where is that information being stored and shared, and how is it being used? For example, at the time of my project, when I created it last summer, Facebook knew more about 12 million Canadians than anybody else. They knew more about Canadians than the Canadian government. So, how will that information be used? And that was I'm paraphrasing Dr. Greg Elmer at Ryerson University, my advisor, at the Infoscape Lab, and so I mean that's just one example. When we give our information to the government in Canada or the U.S. or anywhere else, we probably have a certain level expectation of how that content will be used, or that information, or maybe not, depending on the state we live in or whatever, or how cynical we are. But with Facebook, they're not government, they're not ethicists. They're business people. They're creating a product that we all want and use and love. And but how will that data be used? And so I think that's kind of what this project tries to sort of get at, is how are we going to manage and navigate this new sphere that's sort of public and sort of private.
Do you think that all of these issues are going to sort themselves out as the hype, as you say, wears off, or do you think that this is something that people are going to actually have to, think about more consciously as they move forward?
It seems right now we're like learning the hard way. It's only until we're burned,
right,
until someone says, hey, I didn't like what you wrote about me, or take that photo down, or we're not going to build a store at the end of your street because we've been aggregating all of your content and your income isn't enough to justify building a store. I mean, I just kind of made that one up, but I mean, how is that going to go? But I think the concern is that down the road we don't know. Like, I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know how this is all going to pan out. One example is, are you familiar with like party lines? on telephones,
Right.
where like if you're in a rural area, everyone would share a phone line,
Right, right.
and you'd have a distinct ring. And if you were going to listen to your neighbors, you know, you weren't supposed to, but you know, if you were going to do it, you'd have to be kind of careful and not get caught or something. So I think in one level, it's just getting used to the technology and learning how to use it properly. But on the other end, I look at all the data that's being put out there and online and stored, and that would possibly come up out of context. How do we control that? And a lot of the people, like Jonathan Zittrain and Dana Boyd, who are here at South by Southwest, who actually graciously granted interviews for my project, they address a lot of those issues. And I think ultimately it's just trying, in terms of leveling the playing field, how can we just sort of be aware of how our content is being used, and how can we have a bit of say in that? That doesn't really seem to be available right now.
Right. Now, very recently, and I'm a little sketchy on this, but Facebook had changed some of their rules without really letting people know, and there was this huge uproar when people found out about it, and that Facebook actually went back to another set of rules, the original, and took it under advisement, I guess. They were going to think about things moving forward. Do you think that people are becoming more aware of it? I mean, is that an indication that people are becoming more aware of how their information is being used and they're willing to stand up for themselves, or is that just sort of a fluke, that incident?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that incident, and it really shows you, you know, the power of the users. But it's always after the fact, right?
Right.
It's only until something bad happens, like you don't wear your seatbelt, you get in a car accident. Oh yeah, bad stuff happens. So that's kind of the goal of my project of Weekend Pictures, is to try to help you sort of get a bit ahead of that before something bad happens. But the panel this morning at South by Southwest did sort of explore that it's not even so much like the Facebooks of the world and the Twitters. They are, it seems at least Facebook, they're trying their best to address all these privacy issues, especially when 700,000 people write the CEO after something's changed, and they go, wow, okay, we got to respond to this. But it's the sort of third-party people who are aggregating our content that is sort of the real concern, because they're not even gathering our info in a sort of direct way. They just take information that we've already contributed to other sites and grab it and repurpose it and make it into their own site. How will that content be used? How can we control it?
Right.
And I don't really have any answers, but hopefully just trying to get more sense of what's happening, and do we want to participate in that kind of online social network.
It's a fascinating time to be doing something like this. And let's talk that website one more time. It's weekendpictures.ca.
Yeah, weekendpictures.ca. And the reason I picked that title, there's a prolific Toronto diarist blogger named Rami the Minx, RamiTheMinx.com, and she gave us her time to grant her insight into how user-generated content affects privacy. And we were having a discussion one night at some art show she had, and I think that's where it all, out of that discussion, I came home and thought about how that's where this all begins, these concerns of privacy. We don't print photographs, emailing is a pain, so if you want to be up on what happened last weekend, or what's happening next weekend, you've got to, these days, sign up to a social network, online social network, and once you sign up, you get your photos, and then it just becomes part of your daily activity, like brushing your teeth. And you're maybe not thinking about all the impacts that it's having in terms of your privacy until after the fact.
Right.
So,
all right.
There we are.
Well, Stephen, thanks for being with us, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, and I like your little gathering here.
Yeah, it's been nice.